Are you ready to navigate the new way to work? Forbes Books presents Dare to Care in the Workplace with Kathleen Quinn Votaw. Here's Kathleen.
I'm back with Adam Witty, the founder of Forbes Books and the author of Authority Advantage. We've been talking about how his company helps entrepreneurs become trusted authorities in their fields. Adam, let's get into what I call the hybrid hustle. The pandemic accelerated the growth of remote and hybrid workforces. We just wrote a white paper on the hybrid gap. And more employees want increased flexibility, however that's defined. But many employers want things to return to how it used to be. What's your position on that?
My position is that I think the world has changed fundamentally. And I think the horse is out of the barn and it's not going back. And I think that employers that fight where things are going are going to be behind. And I think they're ultimately going to be hurt. And I've always tried to have an attitude since COVID began. Two things. Number one is, how do we use COVID as one of the great things that happened for us, right? Most people view COVID as a massive negative. And I believe that you have a choice. And so I would much rather say, how do we make COVID a positive versus seeing it solely as a negative? And the second thing that I have always said is, hey, we've got to be ahead of the curve, not behind the curve. And I think ahead of the curve is being more progressive in how you view, what most people call work-life balance. I like to call it work-life purpose, but also this whole idea of flexibility. Look, if I had a 90-minute commute each day, I wouldn't want to go into the office 5 days a week either. Sometimes bosses need to put themselves in the shoes of the people that they're bossing around. And I think that most white-collar professionals, where their job is using their head, using their brain, using their talented skills, most white-collar professionals can be highly productive in an environment that is not their office. And so I don't think it's an answer of it's 5 days in the office. I also don't think it's an answer of, hey, I'm never going to go into an office again. I do think a hybrid is the answer. At Forbes Books, for our Charleston-based team, we use the word remote biased, which means that in Charleston, teammates are asked to be in the office at least 2 days a week, and they can work at home up to 3 days a week, right? So that's 60% of the time remote, 40% of the time in person, able to engage and collaborate with people in person. We feel that that's been a great balance. We've kind of been on this 2 day a week, 3 day work at home schedule for the last 2 years. And it seems like it's largely really working for people. There's always going to be some people that are going to say, you know what, I never want to come into an office again. And you will never change their mind. And there's always going to be a percentage of people that, given the chance, they're going to come into an office every day. And so you're not going to please everybody. And the definition of insanity is thinking that you're going to please everybody. But it's really what works. And for us, and I think for most white-collar businesses, where physically being in a factory or in a plant or in a retail environment aren't necessary, I think that 2 to 2.5 days in the office, 2 to 3 days working remotely or working at home, at least for us, it's made a lot of sense. I think teammates really enjoy it. And candidly, I think that it has also helped make us an employer of choice. Because if your option is going to an office 5 days a week at company A, or come to Forbes Books and be in an office 2 days a week and have 3 days where you could flexibly work from home or from a different location, I think in most cases, all else being equal, we're going to win that person over our peers. And there have been multiple articles that I've read in the last couple of months that are bearing that out.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. And I speak all over the country, and I see such tormented leaders who are really trying to fight. Your word that you used was they're fighting the trend. They're fighting with the employees to get back to the office. My wish for them is to give up the fight, because I was just interviewed on some media outlet, and the genie is out of the bottle. It is not going back in, and people learned that they could not drive, 30 to 90 minutes to go to the office. They didn't have to, spend money on Chick-fil-A or Starbucks, or, they could be home with their family a little bit more every day. And that's the number one reason why people work, is to provide for their life and ultimately their family, whatever version of that they might have. So I think if we can just meet in the middle, a little bit. It sounds like you've come to a conclusion. You're meeting in the middle, and people are doing the hybrid, right? But a hybrid differently, there's not one size fits all for any company. And so I think the message here is listen to the people who work with you, that serve your customers, and figure out what you can actually put together. And that's a really good piece of advice, because it's not my way or your way anymore.
I'll use myself as an example. Last night, my wife, my 1-year-old son, and I returned from a 6-week, what I called America the Beautiful National Park Tour.
Oh, beautiful.
And we left on June 23rd. And over the last 6 weeks, we visited 7 or 8 states. We visited a number of national parks and national monuments. The summer is a great time not to be in Charleston. But also, my wife and I really wanted to get our son out of his routine. We wanted to create a little bit of adversity for him to make him more resilient as a young person. And we just wanted to get him out of his natural environment. And of course, she and I both very much wanted to visit some of these national parks and be outside and, again, do it all from a cooler location. Before COVID, I don't know that I, as the boss, would have left the office for 6 weeks. And in a post-COVID world, number one, I feel more comfortable with it. But number two, I also feel like, hey, there's a lot of people that might say, yeah, the boss says it's okay to work at home 3 days a week, but I really think it's just a line of crap. And they're saying that, but they don't really believe it. And so I wanted to be the boss that said, no. Lead by example. Look at what I did. I believe that remote work and hybrid work works. And, for 6 full weeks, I was gone, and, I was on Zoom calls, and I was at company meetings, and I was on the phone and doing emails and doing a lot of the normal work that I would do if I was sitting at a desk in Charleston, but I just happened to be in a different location. And early in the morning and late in the afternoon, my wife and son and I would go on a hike. One of the reasons I did this trip was really to demonstrate and lead by example that, hey, it's not the industrial age of, you work for 50 weeks a year, you have your 2 weeks of vacation, and maybe you go to Disney World or you go to the beach. And otherwise it's 9 to 5, in the hamster wheel. I think we've evolved.
Thank God we've evolved, Adam. Thank God.
And I think COVID was this look in the mirror for all of us of, am I happy with where things are right now? And I think as a result of COVID, which, of course, millions of people died from COVID. So it created kind of a flash in the, oh my God, if I were to die today, would I be happy with the life that I live? And I think a lot of the people came to the conclusion of, no, I'm not. And, when this pandemic dies down, I'm not going to do things the way that I did before. And so I think that's been a driver of people's attitudes towards remote versus hybrid versus being in office 5 days a week. And as you said, the people that are clinging to this is the way that it used to be and this is the way that it should be, I think those people are ultimately going to largely get killed, and they are pushing a boulder up a mountain.
They're going to lose, because most of the people who serve your clients, your employees, want it a certain way. And so we've just got to meet in the middle. We did this hybrid gap report, and it's the employees are hanging on, and the employers are hanging on, the employees want to just let go. But it's one of those little silver linings from the pandemic and going through that people have perspective on their life and the life they want to lead versus the work they want to do, which, I have for 20 years been working remotely. I have a complete and 100% remote team. They work all over the United States, and they are brilliant and amazing and do great work. And we come together twice a year in person, so it can work. And I love that work from anywhere mentality. Sometimes I might work more because I have that freedom to run away to Ireland for a little bit, which I'm doing in a couple of weeks, or run away to Bonaire and go scuba diving with my husband, but let him go on a dive in the morning and I'll work in the afternoon. And, we're still enjoying our life because that's why we work so hard. And that's all our employees want too. They really want to enjoy their life. You call it work-life balance. I mean, really, truly, there's never going to be 100% balance, but you're more than what you do and you have a whole life, right?
Before COVID, it was this idea that most people, you had to wrap your life around your work. And what's changed is it's now, let me wrap my work around my life.
It's a great change, great silver lining to what we all went through. I mean, I think it's a wonderful result that we're thinking differently as leaders and business owners, at least many of us, and we'll be the wave. How has having a baby changed everything in your life?
Well, it certainly makes you much more with uncertainty and calamity around any corner. I'll tell you that much. As I was sharing with someone earlier, he's trying to put his finger in every light socket in the house. And so you never know what might happen next. But, I actually think that being a new parent has made me a better leader because it's all about patience. It's all about calm. It's all about understanding. And it's all about, hey, no matter what goes wrong, it'll be okay. We'll figure it out. With a young child, I think the adage of expect the unexpected and then expect to deal with it is apropos. And, I think that's a great guidepost for running a business as well.
Oh, I agree. And, parenting resembles managing people too, doesn't it? I mean, there's a great guy, Willis Weidel, who runs Encore Electric here in Denver, and he has a university, and one of his courses is Love and Logic that he has in his curriculum, because when his electricians are better parents, they're better managers.
I completely agree with that. And, being a parent requires a great deal of empathy. Again, it requires a great deal of patience. It requires a great deal of love and understanding. And look, I mean, there's a reason why study after study shows that at the end of the day, women are better managers than men. And it's because women have the biological advantage of having been mothers to children and of having raised children, that empathy is just much more natural for women than it is for men. And I think that empathy, and with empathy, humility, those are probably the two greatest ingredients in leadership, and two ingredients where women have a distinct advantage over men.
We have learned a little bit more of that, spent more time over there. I want to shift a little bit to your earlier life. How much is being an Eagle Scout informed what you've done? 30 under 30 in Charleston, and when you started your company, you just were skyrocketing. You're still skyrocketing. So how much has that influenced all of what you've done so far in your life?
I always say that the day that you think you're a success is the day that everything starts to go downhill. Regardless of the success we've had, I've never really stopped to think about, oh boy, what a success we've been. I just don't think that's a healthy attitude personally. But there's no doubt that a lot of my previous experiences, I think, have prepared me and have helped me along the way. Of course, as an Eagle Scout, which is something that I'm very, very proud of, the motto of the Scouts is be prepared. And, I do my best to be prepared. It's something that I preach to our teammates, that great teammates are prepared. They're disciplined. They do their homework. They are ready for what comes at them. And so, be prepared is a great adage for life as well as business leadership and being an entrepreneur and running a business. All of the other early successes that we've had, we've just tried to say, hey, with success, most people want to celebrate but let's say, well, what can we learn from that success? It's a lot easier to learn from failure than it is success. It's a lot more enjoyable to succeed than to fail. So ideally, if you have some success, why not just say, okay, what can we learn from that success to make us better the next time around? And so I think that with the success that we've had, and we've certainly had plenty of stumbles along the way, it's always been hey, what can we learn from this? And when we have a next opportunity, what can we learn to do better the next time? And so I think it's just having that mentality of it's almost like Kaizen, right? Just having this, how can we consistently improve and do a little bit better and make progress and learn from our successes? I've tried to demonstrate that. Hopefully I've done a decent job at that. And I think that's the fuel that keeps us going.
That's a great lesson from your early years as an Eagle Scout, that always be prepared, because you never know what's around the next corner. I completely agree with that. And how does YPO and EO, your relationships that you've built through these business communities, helped you in your journey? Because I've been a member of the Association for Corporate Growth. I'm very involved with Vistage International. And, it seems like those relationships have been very informative for you.
Yeah. So this is the one area where, again, I've always been an advocate that Zoom cannot replace a room. Where I'm really emphatic in believing that is what you just said, right? These fabulous peer groups, whether it's YPO, Young Presidents Organization, or EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, of course, Vistage, some of the organizations like the Association for Corporate Growth that you mentioned. Throughout my career, from a very early age, I did put a premium on in-person attendance at these meetings and being a part of these organizations to meet people and build relationships and build bridges. And, success leaves clues. And if you want to have success of your own, then a great way to figure it out is to look at other people before you that have been successful and lean into what they did right, and also lean into some mistakes that they made and what they learned from it. And so I believe any success that I've had up until this point has largely been a result of just paying close attention to what other people before me have done. And, I'm a part of YPO. I was a part of EO for many, many years. And I've learned so much from being immersed in these peer groups. Even today, I'm a part of, I think it's 4 different, what some people would call mastermind groups. And so I invest a good number of days each year in my calendar to be in person with these groups as we sit around the table and we talk about what we're doing and what we're working on and what's worked and what's not worked. And, you get so much from listening to other people's journey and learning from them. So I'm a big advocate of that. And, if you're going to get on an airplane and go be in person, I would much rather you go do that with a peer group than, go into an office and just sit at a computer all day. What'd you accomplish there? But in person with peer groups and, others in your industry through associations, I think is very, very powerful.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. And they've been a great part of my journey too. And, you've had a lot of mentors in your life. Who are some of your most influential mentors that you've met along this journey through these organizations?
I'll give you 3. I'll give you a great lesson or quote from each of them. One that I'll mention is Alan Mulally. Alan was the CEO of Boeing Commercial Airplanes and then went on to run Ford Motor Company. And a lot of people might remember Alan Mulally. He was the guy that kind of saved Ford from bankruptcy, and he was the guy that refused to take a government bailout, during the great financial crisis. And Alan was all about working together for the greater good and creating a working together environment in a business. And it all starts with people first, treating everybody with dignity and respect. And what I learned from Alan was this idea of, the working together operating system. And everything in business as a leader, your job as the CEO is really to be a facilitator. And it's to bring out the best in people. That's really what leaders are supposed to do, is bring out the best in people. Another mentor of mine, of course, is Jack Daley, somebody that we talked about earlier. What I got most from Jack was something that he said to me once. He said, Adam, your job is not to grow sales, because, of course, everybody that knows Jack Daley, his expertise is sales management and sales training. Jack said, your job is not to grow sales. Your job is to grow people that grow sales. And I extrapolated that to Adam. Your job is not to grow a company. Your job is to grow people that grow a company. And I think that's a great message for any leader. A lot of leaders think, okay, I got to roll up my sleeves and lean in and do the work myself. Well, if you're going to scale a business of any kind, you only have so many hours in the day. It's very finite what you can do. But if you can lead other people, multiple people who can lean in and do the work in the business, it's much, much easier to scale. And the final mentor that I'll mention is a guy named Pat Williams. He's the founder of the Orlando Magic basketball team. I grew up in Central Florida and came to know Pat Williams early in my childhood. He's been a mentor and a great friend for the last 20 years. He's written 7 or 8 books with Advantage Media and Forbes Books. One of the things that Pat said to me many, many years ago, he said, Adam, every single morning you wake up and you have a choice to make. And it's the most important choice you'll face for the entire day. Mm-hmm. And that is, are you going to be positive? Or are you going to be negative? Yeah. And he said that the best part is you get to choose. And that stuck with me because I have always believed largely that positivity, it is a choice. Now, granted, I don't want to take away from, people that have clinical, challenges with depression and anxiety and things like that. I do believe that for many, positivity is a choice. And so every single day, I have to remind myself in the morning, okay, I get to choose. And today's going to be a great day. I'm going to choose for it to be a great day. And I think that leaders need to have that attitude and need to share that attitude with others.
100% agree with you. I get up every day and I do my gratitudes because I'm very grateful for being on this earth. And I choose happiness. I choose positivity. I'm going to go into it with a smile and a song usually, as Joe knows. And we're going to have a good time. At the end of the day, if you're not having fun, what are you doing? Have some fun, people. Have some fun out there. So, Adam, Witty, how do people find you if they need to find Forbes Books, if they need to find you? Share that with us.
Yeah, Kathleen, thank you for asking. So, I would not be eating my own dog food if I didn't mention I have written a new book. That book is The Authority Advantage: How to Build Thought Leadership Based on Impact, Not Ego. And the easiest to find that book is Amazon.com. It's available in print, as an ebook, as an Audible book as well, if you prefer to listen. Again, it's called The Authority Advantage. You can find me online at Adam Witty, Witty, AdamWitty.com. And you can find us as a company online at books.forbes, Forbes, like Forbes magazine, books.forbes.com.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining me. This was one of my favorite podcasts to record because you have definitely helped me establish authority. So thank you, Adam.
What makes our job fun is being able to have impact and seeing what you've been able to accomplish and sharing your wisdom with others to help them learn and grow. That's the reason why we do what we do.
Thanks, Adam. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome, Adam, and that will do for another episode of Dare to Care in the Workplace. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, make sure you take a second to subscribe so you automatically get my new shows when they drop. Also, if you have a minute, I'd love if you could leave a review on Apple or Spotify so more people like you can discover the show. Until we meet again.
This has been Dare to Care in the Workplace. To connect with Kathleen, go to KathleenQuinnVotaw.com. Kathleen's book, Dare to Care, is available wherever books are sold. Dare to Care in the Workplace is a production of Forbes Books.